Welcome to 2026. This episode is a little different. Today I'm in the guest seat, and the person asking the questions is my sister, Jill Howerton. She's known me long before gig talent, before any titles or bold choices, and she's uniquely positioned to ask the questions that get beneath the surface. In this conversation, we'll talk honestly about fear, courage, and the moments that shape not just my career, but my belief in how work and leadership must change. If you've ever questioned a big decision, felt the weight of building something new, or wondered what it really takes to choose courage when it matters most, this episode is for you. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. All right. Well, this is a bit different this week. We're really excited to have my sister here with me, and it's the first show of the new year, and we thought we'd flip the script a little bit. So I have the opportunity to tell my story, and I haven't done that before, so it's a little bit nervous, and no one better than someone who knows me and all of the secrets that I might not want to share to help me tell that story. And one of the reasons that I'm really excited, Joel, that you're here is because of your own story. So to the audience, this is Jill Howerton. She's my sister. She is incredible. She is a producer of documentaries of TV and film. She has actually two production companies, Roots Productions and Zoe Knife Productions, with her husband, Glenn Howerton, who some of you might know from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And her journey, started a bit untraditionally. She's a few years younger than me, not much, but a few. and was going down the traditional college route. And after her first semester, decided that wasn't for her, and she was going to go move to New York and make it on her own, really on her own. We had a cousin there, but no friends, no connections. We didn't come from a family that knew anything about that, or really even traveled. And so I remember thinking, wow, you're moving to New York. That's big. And you did it. You got signed with well-known agencies as an actress. You were the amount of rejection that took. And you started taking acting lessons and learning how to act and doing all of that and moving back to LA and really making it. And then meeting the love of your life and becoming a wife and a mom and now doing all of it with a career. It's pretty exciting to watch. So I could be interviewing you. Maybe I can convince you to come back for that.
Be happy to.
Thanks. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to you. Thanks for being here, Jill.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. When you first were talking about wanting to do a podcast, flipping it, I was like, let me do it. Like, who knows you better than me?
I was like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
Well, I won't tell anything embarrassing.
Okay.
But I do want to start, I think, by telling people what I saw from my point of view, So growing up, like Jamie said, she was a few years older than me. And so I watched what you did. And we have a lot in common, but we're also very different, So to me, you were always super ambitious, always looking forward, like always looking ahead to like what you were going to do next. And you always did things almost like ahead of schedule. If there was a schedule, it was like, I don't know, graduating with a double major early, like getting married early, having kids early, getting a career early, like everything, you were just ambitious. And I felt like you were really successful at that. And I didn't know what was going on underneath, if, about, any stress or what that pressure was that you felt that drove you. But from the outside looking in, it felt like, you just knew what you wanted and you would focus on that thing and you would get it and you did it all faster, I think, than most people your age. That's how I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, right? Like you're just doing it. I definitely was ambitious. One of the things I think about is like, I was ambitious, but I could only see what I could see kind of as the next path. So whether it was like, if you're in an organization, it was like the promotion or the career track or the whatever program you were supposed to get in or the master's degree or whatever the thing was. Right. And it was really interesting because I think in my 20s, I had was working for a Fortune 50 company at that time. I was in my first kind of director role. By that point, I was a single mom, so things don't always go as planned. Mm-hmm. And really navigating that executive growth. And I loved it. Like I felt like I loved my career. I was proud of what I'd achieved. I had amazing friends and family and a sense of community, which was really important to me.
And there's this really specific time that I remember where I was really questioning, like something was still missing.
Yeah, I think the other thing I saw in you, and this is something we actually do have in common, is like you're a seeker. Like I'm a seeker. Like I'm always thinking about like tapping into feeling like there's something more
Yeah.
and like not living with that. And like, and I felt like you knew there was something more. You knew there was something bigger. I don't know if it was necessarily bigger. It was just maybe more in alignment or, it's like you were doing really well, loving, like you said, loving what you were doing, succeeding on all levels, like from the outside looking in, but like something was missing and you kept looking for that until it got you where you got. And I felt like I kind of did the same thing. So I feel like, so talk about you moved to different companies and then I feel like you got to a point where you're like, hold on, I can't ignore this voice in my head. So tell us about that.
Yeah. It's funny because I can remember points in my career where bosses would say things like, um, are you just driven by the money or what are you're not patient enough.
Mm.
And it wasn't actually about the money at all. I mean, money was obviously you have to provide for a family or whatever, but it wasn't about that. It was about that growth and wanting to grow at a pace that I think felt right for me. But it was also that, like you said, that seeking, that curiosity. And I can remember like at a point, I remember thinking, wow, really the only limitation we have for ourselves is what we can imagine for ourselves. And we didn't grow up like, you're just exposed to what you're exposed to. So we weren't exposed to the corporate world. We weren't exposed to business, really. We weren't exposed to entrepreneurship. And I mean, I remember like when I was a senior or when I was, sorry, a freshman in college, dad lost his job. Right. And that was really scary. They were scared. Right. And
Yeah.
he didn't have a degree. I was the first one in our family to get a education,
Yeah.
a college degree. And
yeah, everyone's seeking that stability.
yeah,
That's what you're taught is to like, you need stability. So if you have a good job and you're making good money, like you stay there because it's stable. So anything that I think deterred from that, like, was
yes.
like very scary.
Yes. And like, is that not smart? Like,
Right. Am I making a dumb decision?
yeah, exactly. So that was scary. And there's this very specific moment sitting in that big corner office, and I'm looking out the window, and there's this frog there on a tree, and he's got the thing doing this, right? And I'm like, wow, okay. I don't know why I zoomed in on that, and maybe that's the ADD or something, but I just remember going, I'm disconnected. There's a disconnect. I'm proud. I've accomplished these things. I'm, succeeding, quote unquote. And yet something's missing. And I didn't feel totally fulfilled. And it wasn't, I couldn't answer the question. So then I went to see. So that was really the first time in my life that I actually ever went and got a coach. And I did it on my own. It wasn't, through work. And in that work, one of the biggest things I learned from that was the role that fear was playing in my life. And I wasn't aware of that because I didn't think of myself as fearful. I thought of myself as brave. I thought I was the one, forging forward, not waiting for, the corporate people to see my worth and, always playing it safe. So I thought like my perception was that I was being brave and courageous. When you understand the impact that fear has and on your decision making and the idea that you can only imagine for yourself kind of what you can see. Like I was actually playing very small. There's just such a bigger world than you can imagine. And I'm sure that's even true today, despite the fact that, I've been on a really incredible journey since that time.
Right.
You were 100% right. So when it's right, it flows and it's just easy. That doesn't mean that it doesn't take effort or you don't go through things or anything like that. But that kind of expenditure of energy is unnecessary. And it's true when you're not with the right partner. It's true when you're not in the right job. It's true when you're not working with the right people. It's true when you're not like living into your full self and the power of your alignment. So you said that. I thought you were crazy. Sure, it looks easy, but you're 100% right. And then fast forward. So when Josh and I met in 2014 and probably thought I was a little nuts, but it was just flows. So yeah.
Interesting you say that because as you were talking about the relationship part, I was thinking, oh, that's for work too. And I do remember saying that actually because that was a revelation for me when I met Glenn. Like I was like, oh, and it made me realize all those times I was in relationships and thinking, is it right? Is it not?
Yeah.
should I leave? Should I stay? Is this the one? Like,
You're like convincing yourself.
and no. And it's the same with work. So, like you said, my work journey evolved through different careers. And it wasn't until I got to producing that I was like, oh, this is easy. And it wasn't easy, like you said, because it required lack of effort. It was easy because it was my natural skill set. It was fun for me.
Yeah.
And that's when it clicked. So for relationships, yes, but also for work, I feel
100%.
like there is a resistance sometimes when you're in a position you're not supposed to be in, or it's like you want it to work out, but it's not. And so, like, good for you to like actually listen to that and trust that. And I think it is scary because there's all that fear of what happens if I fail, that fear of failure.
It's fear of failure. And then the flip side is I'm persistent and I'm pretty determined that I can make anything happen. So like those other things, if I thought it was something that should happen, I saw it as a challenge. Oh, I'm going to stick with this and I can make it happen. Some things you don't want to make happen. Like, please don't make those happen, right?
Yeah.
So learning how it's supposed to feel, hopefully you feel it, people feel it in all aspects of their life. But when you're in that flow, then you recognize when something's not, right? And so that shows up really, really differently. So to your point, when I first made that leap out of corporate, I didn't know I was going to feel in flow. I just knew that no longer was. And I knew I was supposed to do something. I knew I was supposed to build something bigger than myself, but I didn't know what it was. I actually took a few weeks just by myself, which wasn't something I did regularly, and did a lot of reflection and recognized that in my career, I was a builder. Like I was the person who, we need to build this. We are doing a huge acquisition. We have a big project. This isn't working. Whatever the thing was, I was never the sustaining person. And then I recognized, oh, people will just hire me to do that thing I'm really good at. And that flows for me, right? I didn't know it. I can still tune into that fear. I feel it here in like my stomach area. So I had this feeling like I was supposed to build something bigger than myself, but I didn't know what it was, right? And so I was doing that work that I loved, and I still love that work actually. But I had this sense that I was supposed to build something bigger. And when I talked to the guys I went to business school with, they said, yeah, you've talked about that for 10 years. And what was crazy was I had no self-awareness. I was totally not aware that that wasn't something that was like gnawing at me that I wasn't doing or something, right? Like, so that was really interesting to me that people who knew me like somehow could hear that in me, and I didn't see it in myself.
Right. And then you talked about having like a coach. What other kind of support did you have, or do you feel like people need to make a big decision like this, or to go off, even if it's not going off on their own, just to make a big change in their career? Like, did you have our support?
Yeah. Well, and I think, so one of my big driving values is about contributing to the communities that you're part of. So I was really lucky that I had a pretty large network of people who just happen to be awesome people. So I would talk to them, but I still had a feeling of like, you have to do it all yourself. I hadn't integrated how to let people help. I think as I got into a great partnership, both with my husband and then in the business, like you start to learn that you can count on others.
I also think that's super important for people. Like, it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not be the best at every element, right? It's like getting into that flow of what you're good at that feels good, and then going, oh, this isn't one of my strengths. How can I bring someone else in? How can I delegate? How can I shift my business to focus on the things I'm good at? Like I think for me at least, and I don't know if you felt this way, there was like I have to know it all. I didn't want to show any weakness by asking for help or admitting how to do something. Right?
Yeah. Well, look, one of our driving values at Gig Talent is like it's around courage, and it's like feel the fear and do it anyway. And it could also be the don't have it all figured out and do it anyway, right? Do something, take that next step. And I think that that's, what I was doing. I was like, well, I don't know where I'm going, which is super uncomfortable, right? When you think about like a change curve and all of that, like I had no idea, but I knew that what it wasn't in flow anymore. And so it was more like, okay, so that, and, there was a time like at points in my career in companies, I was absolutely in flow. So it wasn't never, it just wasn't anymore. And so that feeling of flow, I mean, it's really the inspiration of like, I want everyone to, eradicate fear, live in flow in all aspects of your life, and like leverage your strengths, which is, I think, where you were going.
Yeah. So tell us about Gig Talent when you started it, like what the idea was and how you kind of how you, I guess, yeah, what the company meant to you then, what it was. Like,
Yeah. So I made this big leap, and I had a bunch of other friends who happened to be C-level, either CHROs or other executives who said, I want to do what you're doing, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid of sales and business development. I just want to do the work that I love. I love being part of a team. And I was like, oh, and that was hitting, you could hear it. Like for me, fear, right? So that was hitting something. I'm like, oh no, and then a couple sentences later, they'd say, but I hate my job. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
not everybody should be a consultant, but definitely you shouldn't stay where you hate your job. Like,
Yeah.
we had lost dad. Like you start reevaluating things. Like, don't stay where you're miserable, right? Do something about it. And so I was thinking about that. And at the same time, things were changing in California around laws, how companies engage with independent contractors. And I was like, we can solve this. We can create something that solves is a solution on both sides. So for clients, how do you know who's good and what they're good at? How do you manage compliance and background checks and reference checks and this independent contractor situation and streamline procurement and administration and all that. And then on the consultant and coaching side, it was like, gosh, you don't have to go to market by yourself, right? Consulting doesn't have to be a lonely gig. And we can do sales and marketing. We can do the administrative part. We can create a community and really have a sense of team, even though it looks different in the gig economy than it did before. And mind you, this was 2019. So 2019 is when we started Gig Talent. And it was really that idea. I want to create an ecosystem that solves something for all the key stakeholders and allows people to leverage their strengths, work in alignment with their true best selves, which gives, by the way, delivers greater value to whatever you're doing. It's more fun and it eliminates fear. And so that was really the driving thing. I didn't know, again, it was like, then I just started to say, hey, you're my friend and you're an excellent consultant. Would you take work? I mean, that was literally a little bit of the baby steps. But so then, fast forward, right? COVID, now 50% of the workforce is engaged in the gig economy in different ways. Yeah, so now experts, some of the best are choosing to work differently, right? Everyone reassessed the role that work plays in their life going through COVID. And so now there's a lot of really amazing people working differently. And so
Mhm.
how do companies know who's good and what they're good at and if they're the right person for it? And so now gig has really evolved, and we have a huge breadth of experts in all different kinds of things, transformation, interim and fractional HR executives and other executive leaders, coaches that do executive coaching, team alignment, all these things, but people who were very successful, right? And have just chosen to work differently. And they're all entrepreneurs. They all have their own businesses and they're successful doing that. But they like the idea of one, having an agent in a way that creates a sense of community. They have a network of other excellent people. So when we get large scale transformation projects, we can compete with the big companies, but you get not only principal level experts, you get people who have sat in the seat. And so they've like been there and done that. They can navigate the complexities that companies are dealing with today. Every company is going through some level of transformation or evolution. And often you need someone either because you want that third party view, someone who can see things that you can't see for yourself, or you need to augment your internal team because you're just not staffed. And it makes sense to have either a fractional or temporary project type resource to help navigate specific things. And then they step away when you don't need them anymore.
Right. So that's kind of how it started. I know you've relaunched very recently. Tell us how it's evolved.
I'm so excited, and you hear it in how I tell the story. I already gave a little bit away, but I think what happened for me this last year, I bought my partner out at the end of 2024, and I would say 2025 was just a deep year of reflection and internal work. It was like, we looked at everything, all of our internal processes, our client experience, our consultant experience, the collective in general, our internal team, really like our roles and responsibilities, our tech stack. How are we um, empowered by AI, and how do we leverage technology but not lose the matching and the value that we bring by being subject matter experts. And so we did so much work in this one year. And what was really exciting about this brand launch is it's like it just feels like that external revelation of that internal work.
Mm.
And in keeping with the alignment theme, I think now like our brand, our website, our collective, the caliber of talent, our value propositions, that we're now in alignment. And that feels really good to me.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank
My
you.
sister. She's a badass.
How embarrassing.
You bought it though.
Yeah. Like to your point though earlier, you couldn't do it without a great team.
Right.
And that's, the Gig Talent team. That's every single member of the Gig Talent Collective who's been on this journey with us.
Mhm.
And it's our amazing clients and supporters that we have that we just are so grateful for.
Totally. Well, I feel like your story has so many little nuggets for people to take about trusting their gut, trusting the stepping stones that leads them, places, examining fear, examining limiting beliefs, asking for support, not being afraid to take a leap of faith, with that support and trust in your own abilities, knowing and listening to when something's in alignment, whether, if there's a resistance in your work or your position, really looking at that and not just settling for the status quo, really pushing yourself to think about what could change to make my work experience better. Just a lot of different, it is an evolution though. And it didn't happen overnight and it doesn't for anyone. Same with me. It's you got to keep seeking, you got to keep looking inward, and analyzing, I think, where you're at, where you want to be, how can you get there, and kind of gaining the support to do that, right?
100%. And it's not about right or wrong, right? It's all of those steps led me to where I am and gave me the experience. And that journey is invaluable. And they served me until they didn't. And I think that, one, again, don't make decisions out of fear, right? And don't settle. So I guess that's something that's if you feel like something's out of alignment, then don't be fearful and, just follow the little snacks of give you the little clues.
Right. Well, I recently spoke at a career day at my son's high school, and they were the thing that kept coming to me, talking about my work experience, I was telling those kids, and I was like, don't think you have to know where you're going to end up. No one can tell the future, and especially they're 17 years old. I'm like, you're not supposed to know what you're doing. All you can do is make the best decision for the information that you have right now, and trust that whatever that is, whether that's where you're going to end up forever or not, most likely not, that's going to lead you where you're going. That's all you need to know, because it's
100%.
so overwhelming to think about you have these huge goals, or or you're supposed to know and you don't know. It's just look at what you have right now, right? And make the best decision for what you have right now. I feel like that's the starting place, right?
100%. And the universe supports, right? That's
totally.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever, but I know we have to wrap up, and I have a quick little rapid fire.
Oh.
I know.
Okay. I'm scared.
We'll see what happens. Okay. One word answers only. Okay.
Okay.
Biggest fear you've overcome.
Mediocrity.
Word you live by now.
Flow.
Courage in one word.
Do it. 2 words.
Your daughter's nickname for you.
Oh. Well, there's a nice one that I will try to remember, and one that isn't so nice. Nickname for me. She calls me a badass. I'll go with that.
Okay. I said that too. I think that's accurate. And what's your favorite after work drink?
Ooh. I like an ice cold dirty martini with blue cheese olives if I can get them.
Oh, yep. Oh my God. Well, that was fun.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jill. I'm really grateful.
Yeah. And congrats on all your success. I've watched you do it. It's been inspiring. And I feel like this isn't even it, this is just another part of your evolution of all the things you're going to do and continue to do. So
Thank you so
Yay.
much. Yay. See you all on the next episode. Thanks for joining us.
Leadership is shaped one courageous choice at a time. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs it, and follow the show to stay part of the conversation. To learn more about how we help leaders and organizations navigate what's next, visit Gig Talent. Welcome to the brave new world of work.